Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/Pettyrevenge. She expected an inheritance from my late husband. My husband passed away 2 years ago. He was a remodeler who had a broad list of clients. For a time, to help out the adult daughter, let's call her Kiki, of my good friend of 42 years, Ami. He would hire her as a helper on some of his larger remodeling projects. During that time, Kay would occasionally borrow things for her own projects: a portable CD player, a pair of channel locks, a winch and come-along, a table saw, chainsaw, a Graco cart paint sprayer, and an air compressor and nail gun. They were all borrowed clean, in working order, in good condition with all relevant parts included. Every single one of them was returned with great delays, all broken and missing significant parts and a crap ton of excuses. Over 2 years, Kiki managed to cost him nearly $5,000 in losses. Finally, he also quit hiring her as a helper because he caught her stealing from one of his clients and forced her to put the item she took right back and then kicked her off the job immediately. Last September, I was visiting Ami and Kiki was there. And then Kiki hit me up for what she called her promised inheritance, which was the first I ever heard about it. Given that my hubby and I spent the 8 years of his terminal illness talking about what he wanted after his death, given that he gifted things of his that he wanted friends to have before he died, I knew damn well he didn't intend for Kiki to have anything. My husband left no will. Ami knew that my hubby had quit lending her tools after getting the cart paint sprayer back. It was a $1,200 purchase and was less than 4 months old when it was borrowed and returned broken in ways the warranty would not cover. Ami also knew Kiki's attempted theft had caused him to refuse to have her work on anything with him for any reason. Ami was also a victim of her daughter stealing from her as well. Now, our state is a community property state. When a spouse dies without a will, only the surviving spouse inherits, so Ami told her daughter to back off, and I got the bright idea of how I was going to handle getting rid of all that broken stuff which was still taking up room in the tool shed. So I told her I'd be sure to pick something out for her, even though her own behavior was the root cause of the bad blood between herself and my husband. So, the next day, with Ami's help, I dropped off all the broken tools and the busted up CD player Kiki borrowed from my hubby at her apartment. Kiki wanted to know what I expected her to do with all of it. I told her that I expected her to do with them whatever it was she had expected my hubby to do with them after she returned them in the condition they were in. Now, she is the proud owner of a bunch of useless tools, and I got to reclaim nearly 35 square feet of space in what is now my tool shed. Next story. Your friends won't stop parking in my driveway? Congrats, your parents know you vape at 16. My neighbors have a teenage son whose friends keep parking in my driveway. I went to check my mail last week and saw them all out front and decided to nicely bring it up, which was met with eye rolls and fake okays. Monday comes around and I come home to find 3 of his friends' cars taking all the space I have to park. It was a 14-hour day for me, so I wasn't having it and made my second approach with intention to make myself very clear and said I'd make it the neighbor's son's problem. Tonight I get home and it's happened again. I went next door and an adult finally answered. I brought up the cars at my place and added a side note their kid never expected. He's also been throwing his disposable vapes in my yard, and I have the other neighbor as a witness. So I casually asked them to make sure that stops, and the instant change in expression told me everything I needed to know after I walked away. Shortly after, his friends left, and I can assume they probably won't be back for a while. Happy spring break, kid. Next story. Don't assume others don't speak Spanish. So, I'm a bridal stylist. I help people find their wedding gown. I love my job, and 99% of the time, it's a happy, wonderful job with great coworkers and customers. And then there's the 1%. I had a bride today who was very sweet, but just didn't connect with the gowns we had. That's okay, it happens sometimes. She was fine. But her mom, and somehow, it's always the mom or the aunt, was decidedly not happy, and decided to crap talk me in Spanish the whole time. Does this woman know what she's doing? She's pulling nothing but ugly gowns. Said gowns were selected by the bride. I hope you don't ever get as fat as her. And so on. Lovely. Now, I am whiter than a jar of mayo, and I don't necessarily look like I speak Spanish. However, my parents are from a Spanish-speaking country, even though they're not ethnically Hispanic. I knew a lot more as a kid, but I'll still know enough to get around. So I waited until the end, and as they were leaving, I said I hope you have a great day. Please, feel free to come back anytime you'd like. We have lots more gowns you can go through if you'd like in Spanish, to the bride and her mom, and oh man. You know how good it feels when you're in AF of pain, and the doctor finally gives you something that works, and you're suddenly not feeling any pain anymore? Or when you're craving the hell out of a specific flavor of ice cream and you manage to find it. Yeah, seeing the look on that bride's mom's face when she realized I heard and understood the entire hour of her ripping me to shreds was so much better. Next story. Coworker tried to claim my 15-page report as her own work to the CEO, got outed in front of him. This was a young woman who only got her job, especially made for her, because her dad was golfing buddies with our CEO. She regularly blamed her team for her numerous mistakes and took all the credit for their hard work. Let's call her B. I used to do trade shows and after the fall season would be back in the office and create a comprehensive report on the results of the shows, normally 15+ pages. The VIPs always wanted paper reports, not attachments, so I normally printed them out and distributed them personally to the staff. I handed B her copy as we passed in the corridor, then watched in sheer amazement as she marched straight into the CEO's office and said, "I kid you not, here boss, I just put this together for you." Stunning, the report was all about trade shows, and she wasn't even in the same department. Cue the revenge. I marched in there right after her and said, "Oh, B, I just realized that my report has some numerical errors, let me have it back and I'll get you a revised one," all the while staring at the CEO with a slightly raised eyebrow. As I left, I heard the most wonderful words from the CEO, "Aiku, would you please close the door as you leave?" B came out about 5 minutes later looking like a ripe tomato. I couldn't resist asking, "How was your little tete-a-tete with our boss?" Next story. Roommate stole my washcloths, so I decided to let her steal one more. My freshman year, I had the most inconsiderate roommate who'd stay up all night talking loudly, eat my food, etc. Oddly, my washcloths that I used to wash my face would go missing. I think I lost like 3 or 4 throughout the semester. I thought someone was taking them, but I had no idea where to. Well, the end of the semester we were clearing out the bathroom cabinets to move out, and what did I find shoved in the far back corners of the cabinet? My washcloths, which were covered in orange foundation. Clearly evidence from my one rude roommate because she wore so much foundation every single day. I was super annoyed because I had to keep buying more washcloths to replace the ones she stole. Well, I decided to use one of my other washcloths and clean the disgusting bathtub with it. I'm talking ring of shampoo, dirt, hair everywhere, etc. I was planning to just throw it away afterwards, but I decided to hang it up and let it dry. In the same place I would hang my washcloths for my face. The next day, the washcloth I had used for the bathtub was covered in orange foundation. The look on her face when I told her. No regrets. Next story. She tried to extort a baby from me, but ended up helping me keep the baby. This happened way back. My daughter is 30 now. When I was 18 and in my first year of college, I got pregnant. The father joined the Navy to escape responsibility. My parents, who are strict conservatives except when it's inconvenient, abandoned me and cut me off financially. They wanted me to have an abortion to prevent the loss of my scholarship. That's how I found myself at 18 suddenly and totally responsible for myself and my living situation with no financial or emotional support from anyone. I lived at a private dorm and was befriended by the property manager, Donna. When I told her my situation, she swooped in like a hero and helped me get a place to stay at one of the other properties she managed. I was getting evicted from the dorm. She then helped me get a job at a gift shop at one of those properties. I thought she was the most wonderful person for all of this until her true motives became clear. She wanted to adopt my baby, even though I had expressed no interest in giving my baby up for adoption. After a few weeks of work, she launched a campaign to convince me I was unfit to be a mother and that my baby would be so much better off if I let Donna have it. At first it was subtle, passive-aggressive remarks about how much money she and her husband had, how she couldn't have children herself, how she hoped she was able to adopt one day, and what a wonderful life they would give their baby. But, as time passed, her approach became more aggressive and direct. She was always around the shop and would even come to my apartment, ready to point out things I did, or didn't do, that proved what a terrible mother I would be. She went into long rants about how awful I was for having a baby without a father, how we'd be welfare trash forever, how God brought her into my life because she was meant to have my baby. It was endless and constant, 4 months. Sometimes I let her comments upset me and make me wonder if she was right, but in my heart I knew that I'd be a good mother. For a while, and feeling intimidated, I let myself be bullied into including her in baby-related events. I even let her go with me to the sonogram where I found out my baby was a girl. She was so excited for me. As I got closer to delivering, I got stronger in making clear to Donna that I was not giving up my baby. I tried to avoid Donna as much as I could, but was regularly reminded how much power she had over my living situation. I soon had co-workers telling me she was claiming that my baby's adoption was a done deal. She even told people she was decorating a nursery and buying baby girl clothes. When it became clear that she was not going to change my mind, she started threatening me with eviction from my apartment and firing me from my job. That way, I'd realize how unstable my situation was and recognize I had no business having a baby. And sure enough, I lost my job. She fired me for not wearing my shoes behind the cashier's counter at the gift shop. When I was on my feet all day, my feet would swell right out of my shoes. I'd stayed behind the counter and slip off my shoes for a bit, but never in view of the customers. Still, that was reason enough, in Donna's mind, to teach me a lesson. It didn't take long after losing my job to also lose my apartment. I ended up couch surfing and even spent some time homeless until I got some housing assistance. In the meantime, I had gone to the EEOC and complained, and they helped me mediate with the owners of the gift shop property. As a result, Donna got fired from managing that property and I got months of back pay and some extra money for my trouble, in exchange for not full-out suing them. This small cash windfall turned out to be a huge blessing that actually enabled me to survive financially until I had my baby and could get back in school. Donna firing me was the best thing that could have ever happened. I saw her years later and she was still childless. Best revenge, my daughter is now getting ready to graduate, full scholarship and magna cum laude, from a top law school. Turns out being raised by a single mom is not as awful as Donna thought. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.